Hey guys and dolls, this is Casey DeVille, the better half of DeVille Inc., Baltimore, Maryland. If you're ever in Baltimore, stop in and see me and Tony. Invisible Bree, 5920 Eastern Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21224. Give us a call if you're in the area, 410-400-9641, or look us up on the web at DeVilleInc.com. DeVille Inc., where we specialize in you.
Small hollow in North Carolina. There have been several Bigfoot sightings.
Hunters may need to be on the lookout for something other than deer when they hit the woods this week.
He hadn't been spotted recently, but according to these pictures, the legendary Mothman is back.
The number of UFO sightings is soaring tenfold over the past 25 years.
Now, she's not talking about people. She is talking about ghosts hanging around what some say is a real-life haunted house.
You're listening to Paratalk Radio with Ted Wolf and Psychic Cindy on paratalkradio.com, a member of the WLFE digital broadcast family. Paratalk Radio is your one-stop for all things paranormal, the unknown, and the supernatural. Join us every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central for discussions and guests on topics such as ghosts, hauntings, Bigfoot, UFOs, and more. This broadcast is rated M for mature and is intended for listeners over 16. The topics, views, and opinions expressed on our show may not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Paratalk Radio, our hosts, or our sponsors. Now, live from J-Wolf Production Studio in Ontario, New York, here are your hosts, Ted and Cindy.
All right, so we have got...
Hi, everybody!
Hey, Cindy.
Just pops right in there.
Wait,
no
was I still muted?
No, well, no, I got you unmuted.
I hear you.
You're good.
Okay, good. Did everybody hear me say hi to them, though?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. If they didn't, then I don't know. So, all right. So we got a good show for you tonight.
Hello,
a couple
Nick.
things. What's that?
I said hello, Nick.
Hello, Nick. And Robert.
I said
Put
hello,
another
Robert.
shrimp on the barbie down there in Australia.
I have a saggy, like
what? What are you doing?
see it? My saggy phone holder. It's driving me crazy.
All right, well, I just dropped mine, so there, now we're even. So, anyways.
Thank you, Robert. Hi, Barry.
So, Thanksgiving's coming, Christmas is coming, and there's a lot of, yes, hello, Barry, there's a lot of things floating around out there that just gets pushed, like, really fast and heavy and all that stuff. I remember
fast
Halloween.
and heavy?
Ha ha ha. Nice look. No, but we were talking, one of the last shows we did was about Halloween and how Halloween hadn't even been there and they were already putting Christmas stuff out. It was just crazy.
Dude.
So,
yeah,
it's just getting worse every year, I think. But
yeah. I like listening to one of the channels around here, and it's the day after Halloween, it was Christmas music.
It's crazy.
November 1st, it was Christmas music.
It's crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Had it on today.
Oh my gosh. So
I have so much stuff on my thing. Driving me crazy a little bit.
Was that ice cream you have?
It's rice pudding. I'll show you. It's rice pudding.
Oh, I should have got me some ice cream.
And it's chocolate pudding. Can
Wow.
Cozy Shack just sponsor us and give me chocolate pudding?
yeah, because you are buying every week now. You have a pudding, and it's like, what is going on here, Cindy?
I'm pregnant. That's what it. No, I'm not. I'm teasing.
I was gonna say
Please do
there's
not
no
start saying stuff. I really am not pregnant.
Hello, Adam.
I'm
Bruce.
pushing 50.
Yeah, I'm not going there.
You better not, boy.
No, well, I'm just saying because I'm older than both of you, so I ain't pushing.
That's
nothing.
right. But I look younger and I act way younger.
Keep it up. Hey, you'll live longer than me. That's just fact. Women live longer than men. It's fact.
That's right. I am a woman.
Well,
all right. So, am I echoing at all, you guys? I just am curious.
No.
Because I don't want to put the freaking headset things in my ears if I don't have to. My ear holes.
Okay.
Cindy loves her pudding.
I actually got a heater in here today.
Oh shit! Okay.
No way!
Okay. Here, let me put my other on.
Yeah. So, anyways,
there.
It's been a while. It's been a week, and you know, we normally talk about paranormal stuff because it's a paranormal radio show for the most part. But you know, we're into horror. We're into so many different things.
We got our hands in everything.
Well, why not? I mean,
why not?
You know, just before the show started, I was talking with Darin, and it's like, you know, there's so many things in the paranormal that it becomes stale. It becomes monotonous. And that's
You
the
just
only word I
need
can
to
think of.
have it fun. I gotta put these in my ear holes because my son's too freaking loud and he's freaking street.
So, anyways, we were just briefly talking about how things in the paranormal are, you know, right now, and how things have gone in the past 20 years, and where we're going, and stuff like that. And it's such a big field right now, and it's touching base on everything, in every you know, avenue. I mean, there's always something. You're hearing something, a new book, or you're seeing a new show, or you know, another radio show. There's always something, you know. But today's isn't different from any other day. And you know, when we were looking for guests, I was talking to Kenny, and Kenny Irish, I should say. And we were talking about people and experiences in the paranormal and things like that. Not necessarily having, you know, a paranormal guy on here that talks about equipment or talks about, you know, his cases and his group or anything like that. But just sit down, talk to somebody that's had a few experiences, has a lot of other things going on in their life to where, you know, let's just relax and have a nice conversation tonight. That was my thought.
Okay.
You know, so that's why Darin is here. And he's going to join us tonight. He has had some experiences in the paranormal, and but he does a lot of other stuff too. And I figured, you know what? Let's just relax and have some fun tonight and talk a little bit. So
I have a story for you too.
What's that?
I have a story for you too. You didn't even ask how I've been or anything.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Let's take a minute and ask how Miss Cindy
Diva
is.
Cindy.
You seem in a terrible mood, Cindy. Just awful tonight. You need to cheer up a little bit. What can we do to make you feel better?
Eat pudding with me.
Eat pudding?
With me. Poor Barry. I'm sorry, Barry. I'm going to take one more bite, Barry, and then that's it, okay? That's it.
All right,
I'll put it away.
All right, so Guyton Paranormal Society is on here. Hello, welcome aboard.
Hi, guys.
Azazel is on here as well, and it's nice to see everybody. But you know what I wanted to do was I was sent his Darin's bio. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's actually pretty big, but I'm going to read some of it here. And
fell out of my ear holes.
Nice.
God damn it.
But I'll read a couple paragraphs here. It says, Darin Savard is a family of three, musician, distribution professional, baseball player, outdoorsman, fitness and travel enthusiast.
Okay.
He is also a homeowner and a fourth-generation native of rural northern Vermont. I love Vermont, by the way.
I've never been there.
Oh, me neither, but I want to go because of Ben and Jerry's.
And
over his musical career, Darin has written, recorded, and performed many genres of music: punk, metal, hip-hop, rap, core, gospel, rock, and country. Can be heard on his 9 completed albums, known for his power drumming and high-energy vocals. Darin has had independent success performing.
Do it. Do it.
Do it now.
Let's go. Let me hear him.
I don't think you can handle it, Cindy.
What? I don't know if you can tell, but I'm pretty high vibrations.
You don't have enough energy for my kind of music.
I do. Well, are you screamo? Because I could totally screamo.
I'll everything, all in between. I can scream. I can do all sorts of things.
All right, I got it. Okay.
All right, so let me finish this. All right, guys?
Yes.
All right, it says, where was I? Darin has been an independent success performer at a wide range of venues and productions, such as national television network, festivals, churches, biker rallies, and clubs. In his spare time, Darin likes to volunteer helping troubled youth, senior centers, prison outreaches, churches, political and community events, and run marathons. Ever since he had been a kid, he had a special interest in the paranormal, the afterlife, and spiritual studies. Through many encounters and experiences, Darin has been asked to give his accounts and testimony as to what has transpired in his life to groups of people. On rare occasions, he shared all of that he remembers. Some are skeptic. Most are in amazement of the stories. So, it's pretty cool that, I don't know, I'm liking this because now we get to hear somebody else's stories. We don't have to worry about, fact or fiction from, some investigator. We don't have to worry about anything special. We're just here to chat, have a little fun, and hear some stories, and basically put Darin in the light for us tonight so that everybody out here in comment land can ask questions and so on and so forth and just have fun.
Comment land. I love it.
Sounds good to me.
My buds are in the house. That's what it's all about.
My heater just quit.
What? Uh-oh, shit. I hope it doesn't take the whole thing out like it did before.
Well,
Give her a chocolate high. Calm down, Cindy.
When you can see my breath, it's really cold in here. So
it's nothing paranormal then?
No, nothing paranormal.
Did you see that come out of his mouth?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
As long as it doesn't come out from behind you.
Jesus, listen.
Well, there's a ton of Godzillas back there, and if any of those start moving, then...
If they start moving, we are calling some Ghostbusters in for you. I'm coming over there. I'm leaving my house, and I'm heading down there to start saging the shit out of your house.
What do you got in that pudding? Where does that pudding come from?
It's just regular pudding. It just
regular
me.
pudding. Okay.
It's just me. I mean, it's just me. Ask Teddy.
It's just her.
I'm just wild.
She doesn't need any of those 5-hour drinks or anything. This is kind of what circulates in her blood, on a normal basis.
There's not enough hours in the day for you to take a 5-hour energy drink.
Oh, hell
You've already got it covered, so.
That's right.
Yeah, definitely. So let's start this out with now. It seems like you're semi-talented. I mean, you have your feet in a lot of different projects, or you just love everything that you do. I guess is the best way to put it. You're doing a lot though, and you've accomplished a lot. And how old are you? I was going to ask. You can't be that old.
Me? Well, you can take a guess if you want.
I was going to say.
Want me to guess? Go for it.
You want me to go
first?
You
want me to go? So I saw 32 and then I saw 36.
Okay.
And I thought, Jesus, tongue in front of my teeth. I was going to say around 37, but I could be wrong.
Okay, well, 45.
What? Okay. Good job. The muscles work for you.
Oh, well.
Whatever works for you.
Whatever works for me, I guess.
That's right.
All right, so
Jake.
Hey, I know this guy.
Jake Levasseur.
Yeah,
I hope I said his name correctly.
That's the way I would have said it. So
you would not have. You are full of some hokey bullshit now, son.
No, I admit it. I torture names. I really do. I really torture the hell out of them.
He literally would go, okay, how do you say that?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I do. I torture the hell out of them. So, whatever. So I leave it to Cindy most times.
That's right.
All right, so Well,
wait, can we just get... We have not even asked about each other's week. You're trying to push.
I figured we'd do it at the end.
Like last week or this week? 'Cause it's Monday.
Both.
Okay. How was last week into Monday?
So what
Sounds
did you
good.
do, Cindy? What did you do this week? How are you? I'm so sorry.
I'm good. How are you, Teddy Poo Poo?
See? That's what we got after all that.
No. I have a story for my weekend because I was home alone.
So, you know what? We will, if Darin doesn't mind sitting just for a moment while you tell your story, go for it.
Listen, this is our show. He has to wait.
Right. I'm going to go get some ice cream. You go ahead.
We have to be the bosses here.
You're so mean.
No, actually, I'm not mean. No, normally we don't
Normally we
start
take the
till,
first 10 or 15 minutes to talk, and we
yes,
didn't do
we
it
usually
today,
aren't starting until like 8:15, 8:30 for our guests to come in. But now he's not doing that lately, and I don't like the change.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Over it. Anyway, so I was home alone this weekend.
All by your lonesome?
I know, it's weird, right?
Oh.
It was very quiet, and it was very... I mean, I had Simeon, the kitty, here, but it was quite strange because I didn't hear this stuff at the background all the time, like 24/7, until I'm ready to go to bed and when I wake up, right? So...
Well, did something happen?
No, my cousin had taken the boys because, well, Jansen's sad because Maddie, his girlfriend, has left for the military. So, hi, Tom. First 20 usually interim talk before the interim. That's right, Robert. Thank you. Anyway, so Kelly had the boys because Jansen wanted to be around friends and stuff and their cousin. And so I'm here Friday. I'm like, holy cow, I have the whole weekend by myself. What the hell am I going to do? So Friday night, it started, like Kelly came and got them. It's like 5 o'clock and I go to bed late, Teddy. So I'm going upstairs. It's like 1:30 in the morning. And this is not a drill. Morning, Tom Nally is in the house. Nick, you're so crazy. So I go to the bathroom, and I'm coming out of the bathroom, and I start heading down toward my bedroom, down the hallway toward my bedroom, and then I turn back around, and everything is dark, except the light in the bathroom. So the bathroom is here. The stairs are right next to me, going down. Jet's room is right across from the bathroom. And there is a window right in front of me on that wall, right?
Okay.
So it's the wall has the bedroom and that bedroom on the left and the bathroom on the right.
Okay.
And the stairs, I was at the railing, so if you go down around the stairs, they're right next to me. I'm coming because I just turned quick and came around. There's this two little blue lights about this big right next to each other. And I knew immediately what they were. They were two little blue lights, and they were not on the wall. They were literally just hovering above about this high from the floor. Not on the wall, just in the middle of where I would have to go down to the stairs or to Jet's room. Jet's room is completely black. There's curtains on the wall, or there are curtains on the windows. There's no light possible coming in. So you know me, Teddy. I'm immediately in skeptic mode. So I'm trying to disprove any reason for these anomalous lights, right? Because they shouldn't be there. There's no fucking reason for them to be there.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, all right, the window's right there. I'm like, let's go trajectory of lights from headlights. I'm like, nope, can't. There was nothing coming eastbound. There's no lights coming in toward me. I'm like, okay, what about going westbound? I'm like, no, because then you'd bend crooked. Nope, can't do it. I'm like, okay, living room door is right 10 feet from the stairs when you go down the stairs. I'm like, can't do it because where the lights would come in, number one, there's a curtain over the long window on the door. And number two, where the lights were, you would not be able to get the light coming through because the top of the ceiling, the arch, where the top of the box of the door, whatever it's called.
The frame.
The frame, thank you. The frame would have stopped it. You wouldn't have been able to see it because it wouldn't have gone high enough. Do you understand?
Okay.
I had nothing reflective on. There's nothing to reflect. Why do I see those lights?
I wasn't there, but I have no idea.
So, the last time these lights have been seen were years ago here in my house. And I was doing an open house. So we did an open house. So when I had open houses here, I would do readings up in my bedroom. And then everybody that was waiting and stuff, they were having refreshments and stuff. I would do a seance for anybody that wanted to stay and do it. So it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning maybe. And there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of us down on this living room floor. But 8 of us in the room. Jesse was sleeping. So 7 awake in the room. And then my ex-boyfriend was laying on the floor in the other room. I didn't have pudding, Nick. So everybody, Rachel we had a candle on the floor, and Rachel was there, and I thought all of a sudden, because I saw this yellow-orange light, it looked like a candle flame to me, and it went zoop, and literally went between me and Heather, who were sitting right there, and I'm like, holy shit. And then I realized that it wasn't something, because I thought that she just was playing with the candle and the flame, sometimes it'll jump or something, right?
Right.
But it went across and between us, so I'm watching it, and I see Heather, who's next to me, and she's watching this thing too. And I'm like, wait, did you see that? And she says, yeah, did you see that? I said, yeah, that was crazy. I said, I want to know what you saw. But this is what happened. They're like, the people that were sitting on the couch across from us said, oh, you didn't hear it? I said, wait, stop. What are you talking about? They said, you didn't hear it first? I said, no, what are you talking about? They said it sounded like a crack of lightning or like electricity, like that crackle of electricity. That's what Paul, who was sitting across from me, Paul said, yeah, it was like a crackle of electricity. You didn't hear it? I said, no. And Heather's boyfriend at the time said, yeah, I heard the crack of electricity, but I saw it too. And I said, well, what did you guys see? How many of you saw it? How many of you heard it? There's only been like 1 or 2 of them that had actually heard and saw it. There was 2 or 3 of them that had heard it, and then there were about 3 of us that saw it. And it was crazy because they explained it as a blue light, whereas I saw it as a flame color, like that yellow, orangey color.
Well, let me ask you a question. Were you sitting on a rug?
No, I was sitting on a chair.
No, was all this in a room that had a rug underneath it?
Yeah, it was just it's an area rug. It's not like a thick plush rug, carpet. Like
all I'm going to say is static electricity. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know other than that.
I would agree with you, but I can't. Only because of how it happened. Because Rachel was sitting about 5 feet away from us on the floor, and this thing literally went from Rachel and did this zooming thing between Heather and I and we were sitting, our chairs were next to each other. It literally zoomed between us. And we watched it. We're like, holy shit, what the hell?
That's kind of cool. I mean, if you've got all those people that saw it and heard it, I mean, that's cool. I mean, that's...
It was witnessed, yeah.
So I mean, it's unexplained. It definitely falls within the paranormal realm, so, that's cool. Hello, Mr. Chris Sanders.
Hi, Chris. How are
Mr.
you,
Paranormal himself. Thank you for joining us here.
So this is exactly the same kind of little flamey lights, but it was two of them next to each other, and they were blue.
It seems to be a common theme is blue. It seems a lot of people see the color blue with these. I wonder why.
It's interesting because
I've never
at
seen
first
blue.
I didn't
I've never
see it
seen
as
blue. To be honest with you,
I didn't see it as blue.
Always yellow.
And normally,
orange.
I don't see it as little light orbs either, right? Little light.
Yeah, orbs I don't see, but lights is a different thing. You know what I mean? I've seen lights. I'm not going to tell you that they're orbs, but
lights.
Right.
These were little light phenomena that I could not explain. Like
Nick
I
says
just
it's
sat there.
paranormal pudding lights.
Nick, I'm gonna beat your arse. Listen, I've been known to beat up boys before. Okay, Nick?
Yeah, you and my sister. So, what are you saying the lights are? What do you? I mean, it only happened. How long were they there?
I literally watched them for good 10 seconds or more. I literally was like, what is going on right now?
Okay, but you're psychic. You're a psychic, so you didn't feel anything. You didn't.
No, that's why it's even crazier. So this is the thing. I know my house is haunted, Teddy. I already know that I have people here.
Right.
I have a portal in my house. I know it. It's fine. I'm okay with it. Right? They don't fuck with me. I don't fuck with them. It's good.
But you got nothing off the blue lights.
I don't know who the blue lights are. I do know that it was some kind of activity.
Hello, Susan Fiandek.
Who it was. Hi, Susan.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. I just know that I went immediately into skeptic mode and tried disproving what I just saw.
And see, that's what you should be doing. So you took the necessary steps for the beginning of it, which is great, and still don't have any answers. So
right,
just keep watching. That's all you
but
can
it was
do.
cool as hell.
That's cool. Well, I'll just make this quick because I know that Darin's been being. So just so you know, what I did for the weekend, I spent Saturday evening with the guys from the band. Actually, Daryl, he made me sing. We did, shots. I didn't leave there till like 4:00 in the morning. I got home at 5 something, and
if I wanted shots, I can do it too.
There you go. But we sang everything. Some of the old stuff when we used to tour. Some of the stuff like Christmas, and we just sang and had fun. And
I told you I see you singing.
Yeah, well, I had talked to him about it, and I guess because I'm working on some very odd music, not technically, not country, not rock, not anything like that. Kind of more like a world music or standard. I mean, I'm doing some weird stuff right now, so musically. So
I want you to show me.
Huh?
I want you to show me weird.
No.
I want to see.
So once I figure out what I'm doing or where I want to go with some of this stuff, we're planning on making an album out of it. So, but for right now, that's what we're doing. So.
I'm so excited.
Stop it. I still got book 3 and 4 to finish writing first, so that's priority over the album.
Sometimes you just have to allow, and I told you this before. Creativity does not mean that if you start something, I have to finish it right now. It's all about divine timing. It's like it's an ebb and flow, and sometimes you're feeling it, and sometimes you're not.
I know.
Yep.
I know.
You just allow.
That's right.
I think one of the best songs we've written happened organically between the four of us, and it was pretty much set and done in 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. It was just the bass player playing a riff, the drummer starts playing.
Right.
Guitar players. Then I just suddenly get these lyrics, and it ended up being one of the best songs we wrote.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, sometimes that's the way it is. And then some can take you months to write. I mean, that's the way it was for us. I mean, so. All right. So, let's get into Darin here. Let's talk about him. Welcome, everybody that are just popping in here again. Thank you so much for joining us here. Cindy just wasted 30 minutes for us, which was great. I'm just picking, honey. I'm just picking.
I can't wait to see you, Teddy.
Why, so you can hit me? All right, so, Darin, let's talk about, so obviously you're a father, you got kids, which is great. So
how many kids?
Got three girls.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Good kids.
Two.
That's cool.
That's
Couldn't ask for better.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a fitness guy, right? I mean, you're trying to stay fit all the time, outdoors.
It's the way I was brought up.
Yeah.
My whole family, almost my whole family, was in the military, and I was the youngest in the family. So I had a brother that was in the guard that used to make me get down and do push-ups like he had to do in boot camp. So I was starting at like age 7, 8 years old, and my two brothers used to like to toughen me up too. They used to like to watch my little brother won't cry.
Oh,
It wasn't that bad. No, it was fine. It was all brotherly love, I guess.
Yeah, no.
So I got into it. I just I liked it.
Better man than me. I hurt my brothers. That's what I did.
Yeah.
What did you say? You hurt them?
Yeah. It wasn't on purpose sometimes, but yeah, we're a very rough family. I mean, Dad was military, and but the rest of us, I mean, we were raised in, how they say, dirt poor and stuff like that. That's how we were. I mean, everything was about the farm. Everything was about toughing each other up. And I mean, I made mistakes. I cut my brother's fingers off for him, which was
Teddy, what the heck?
It wasn't on purpose.
How did you cut his fingers off?
Oh, we were young.
Did they sew him back on?
Oh, they did. They sewed him back on. He's got his fingers. Yeah. I just couldn't hold. I had this big flat rock, and I was holding it for him so he could get the worms out from underneath it. Because we, as kids, I mean, on a farm, you fish a lot, so that's what we did.
Yeah.
And I kept telling him, you got to move your fingers. I can't hold it anymore. And I dropped his hand, went down with it, and it cut the tips of his fingers off. But
I've hurt some people over the years accidentally. A few broken bones.
Yeah.
Ribs, back was one of them, and collarbone. I almost cut my own finger off. Thankfully, I didn't. But
my gosh.
Yeah, it's just a little kid should not have an axe in his hand. That's all I gotta say when camping. You don't put your hand on a tree, then whack the tree. Yeah, so thankfully, I hit my fingernail.
Or a big knife. Yeah, I've done that too. But when you're raised in a family that does certain things, like we played something called Spoons. It was a family game whenever the family got together. And normally when I say spoons, they're talking about playing spoons. And it's like, no, it was a spoon game where you have to basically grab the spoons from a card game off the table. And we broke a many a table. A lot. Yeah. People jumping on top of the table and... Oh yeah, it was fun, but it was very physical. It was a very physical game. But anyways, you do what you got to do to stay fit, right? I mean, that's the way I look at it. So
yeah.
So Darin, you're in band music. Let's talk about that a little bit before we get up to the paranormal stuff. So
yeah, the music.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the music started when I was pretty much born because my dad was a phenomenal drummer, and he played for some notable people like Tammy Wynette and George Jones as a fill-in, and he was really well known around here, and there's a lot of people who used to follow him in his band. My brother played for the Air Force Orchestra. I had another brother that passed away that played guitar and sang. Uncles, all played music and recorded albums, so I was kind of born into it, and I always hearing drums in my house.
Yeah.
Then my father decided one day to get another drum set. That's another whole different story why he stopped playing, but it involved a bar fight. But he got drums, and I just sat down and started playing, and he was really astonished that I was able to play a pretty good amount of beats for never having really touched a drum set seriously before. Right. And kind of went from there, and I started writing music. I started writing, hip hop. I was kind of a weirdo in Vermont, because you being a white guy in Vermont, it's like, why'd you be listening to hip hop? But I grew up in the days when it was like Run DMC and stuff, and a lot of new stuff coming out. And so I
Run
really got
DMC
into
was
that.
awesome. Awesome.
And they started crossing with Aerosmith, who I also loved.
Oh,
And it had the crossover songs like Walk This Way. So I'm like, that's the path I want to go. I could hear that.
yeah.
Then you had Public Enemy with Anthrax getting even heavier with the music. And I just fell in love with the music. And I ended up meeting Kenny, somewhere along the way during that time era. And he was a metal guitar player and played punk and stuff like that. And so we kind of meshed styles. And it went from there. And we just played in bands and created a lot of music, played a lot of venues. We both did side projects on our own.
Nice.
Played with a lot of side
Wait,
band.
What
was
Kenny
that?
are you talking about, Darin?
Kenny
Talking about your
Irish.
Kenny.
Oh, Kenny Irish.
He was my Kenny before he was your Kenny.
Actually,
But I know the older Kenny.
Yeah, we got a couple Kennys, so it's like, yeah.
We have a couple
Kenny Irish. Yeah. So he definitely has the style for what it is we were doing, and really bring the K funk, and play that metal guitar. It brought the sound that I was looking for with the rap, and we went all out, man, on the stage. We're pretty crazy.
That's good.
So that's kind of in a nutshell. I mean, there's a million stories in between, from the biker rallies to clubs, and I mean, you name it, some crazy stories. That's another talk show.
I literally, as you looked off, I literally just watched you watching memories in your mind.
Yeah, there's some good memories.
That was crazy.
There's some good memories. I loved it, man. It was just, we got some old fans that are watching us tonight too. They used to watch the music, and they knew we were nuts. So it was part of the draw, just the high energy stuff.
Onto yogurt.
And you know what? I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. So,
Lori?
That's music.
I like what Lori says. She says, love the crossing of genres. I do too.
Yeah.
I thought that whole thing with Run DMC and Aerosmith was like, it was so cool back then. You know what I mean?
We decided to start pushing the envelope even further. So before we even knew who System of a Down was, or guys that really pushed the envelope, we were already crossing from, we took rap and metal, so we tried to incorporate punk. And we're like, let's get really crazy and have a blues riff here, or things that were just really never heard. So when Kenny did a lot of the booking of the shows, but it was hard to book us with bands because we didn't sound like anybody. Like, they'd put us with straight metal groups, and we were the oddball. They put us with punk groups. We were the oddball. It's just, we kind of stood apart.
Yeah,
until there's other bands that came along, like a System of a Down, that really did a lot of weird stuff. And we didn't want to be just, just another carbon copy of somebody else. We tried to be original.
Right.
So
I think that's the whole point of music, is to be yourself, and to, I mean, one of the things that my band had a problem with is we could fit in anywhere because we played everything. The only thing we didn't do was rap. But it's fun when you can hit all those different genres and come out with sets of just like stuff that they don't expect. Yeah. They're so used to certain things when you play, let's say you play a country club versus like a rock club, and all you do is play country all the time or rock all the time. It's nice to throw some of that other stuff in there that nobody ever hears, and people are like, oh my God, I didn't know they could do this stuff.
I didn't even seek out rap. I just kind of stumbled across it, and I did a couple songs once for a bunch of youth. And I was a kid myself. We're all the same age, and I got a huge response. There's probably like 50 people there, and I'm like, oh well, people liked it. Maybe I'll do another song. And it just kind of branched off from there. Then, as you see in my bio, I was asked to do some outreaches in prisons. To go out to talk to some inmates, and they said, hey, won't you do some of your rap songs? And I did in some maximum security prisons and stuff. And when I got a massive response from those guys, who in my mind probably would be the most judgmental, maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's just me perceiving that. Got a huge response. I'm like, maybe I got something here. So I didn't try to sound like anybody. I just try to sound like me. So if you hear my lyrics in the rap, it doesn't sound like typical rap, where I'm trying to copy accents or tonality. I just try to be myself. And, I'll do more like maybe a metal singer would sing. So I'm aggressive when I do the rap. I'll even do speed rap. I was into speed rap when that was a big thing. Like Busta Rhymes and stuff like that. So I can do some pretty good tongue twisters where people.
That's cool.
Yeah, not me.
Like we said, his what is it? Your tongue gets in front of your eye teeth.
Yeah, tongue gets in front of the eye teeth, and I can't see what I'm saying exactly.
That's right. That's right.
So.
Okay.
No, that's awesome. Like I said, you're talented, man. That's cool. It's good to have all that stuff. I can't say. I mean, there's a massive amount of us out there in every genre of music and in every avenue that are talented, multi-talented, but never get to make it. Never get to expose themselves to the producer that wants to, give you an album or sign you or whatever. But, I think what really matters, like for me, I mean, I've gone through that whole process down in Nashville, and I created an album, I did a video, I came home, and it's like I ended up just becoming the, local band guy. And I'll tell you something, I had more fun doing that. I'm not saying I wouldn't have fun being signed, but it was personal. It was a lot more fun. I grew. I mean, it was just something. Sure, I mean, the money would have been nice or whatever, but no, I was happy.
I got to tell you, we flirted with that. We flirted with, we played with a lot of signed bands. Yeah. One from Australia, another one that opened for groups like POD, and they were dirt broke, man. And we were told by record industries, you're better off remaining independent if you're doing as well as you are, because once you sign over the rights of everything.
Right.
They tell you what to do, where to go. Like a couple of deals that were offered, you would have to have done. Yeah, you'd have to do over 100 shows a year. You're straight commission. There's no insurance. So when you got a little kid, it's like I can't be living in a van down by the river. It literally came to that. I had a 15-passenger van that I painted all black, I pimped out. I had the all black tinted windows, 6 subwoofers on the inside, mirrors on the roof. We had the whole image, and it's like I can't live in this. So we just kind of walked away from it. I actually got something to show you here. I'm just going to show you want to see? I'll just show the inside, sir. So there's me and Kenny right there in one of the inserts of one of the albums. See that all right?
Cool.
That's crazy.
Little show and tell.
Fun.
Yeah.
So,
super fun.
Music, the industry of music, and even movies and stuff like that, it's not an easy life.
It's rough. It's rough.
It is rough. It is rough. And, I have a lot of friends that have gone to Nashville that are still there writing and creating their music. And then I have some that are local. And it's all like, kudos to you. If you're still single, you don't have a family. If you can do it, man, do it. But some of us just can't, There's other things. As like I like to say, life gets in the way. There's other things that force our hand to do what we need to do to protect or raise the people that we have or whatever. We do what we have to do.
Once you get into it, you gotta be willing to sacrifice everything and be willing to walk away with nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I want to hear some of your music now.
Check it out.
All right. So let's go from there. So when did you have your first paranormal experience?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, for me, when it started, there's a lot of them. I actually got notes over here. There's so many things that happened that I had forgotten about that I had to jot it down.
Good idea, actually.
Yeah, it's so I'll go back to. I'm gonna guess I was about 7, 8 years old. I'll give you a little background here, and I didn't know this at the time. But I grew up in a house. It's one of the oldest houses in the area of that part of Vermont. It was a 3-story brick house. I'm trying to give you an image of what it looks like. So it was a big house, older house. It was built in 1900, exactly 1900. And it had a lot of secret rooms in the house, which is weird. The people that moved in after we left didn't know it was there. My brother stopped in one day when it was being sold and showed them, look, did you realize there's rooms in the closet where you pull out the paneling and there's a door there, and it had a whole inside other rooms that wrapped around the house. on the third floor. And it turns out, and I'm pretty certain of this because this is what I was told, that the house had a lot to do with the Underground Railroad. So if you ever look at Underground Railroad maps, it goes right over Vermont. So there's a lot of houses in our state that were used for the Underground Railroad. So giving you that background, I didn't know this as a kid. I wasn't exposed to paranormal or scary things. My mother really sheltered me, so my experience was 100% organic and out of the blue. I didn't have any preconceived ideas in my mind or planted seeds or an imagination. It didn't exist to me in my world.
Right.
So the drums were a big thing to me. And my brother had his drum set on the third floor. His bedroom was up there. And I went upstairs one day. I wasn't really supposed to be on them, but I went up and decided to climb up on the stool as best I could. I'm young, so my feet cannot reach the pedals.
Right.
Get the drumsticks, and I started playing. And I remember it vividly because being a kid, I feel good. I'm excited. I'm playing the drums for the first time, and I'm hyper fixated on what I'm doing. Undistracted when a kid is in play and they're playing with their toys. That's all that exists in their world at that moment.
Right.
So I was up there for quite a while. And all of a sudden, as I'm playing, when somebody walks up behind you, you get that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And the hairs, I just remember getting goosebumps and just feeling like somebody just went right over my shoulder, like right there, like I could feel them. And so I turned around, so I was startled, like somebody came up to tell me to get off the drum set, and I turned around and nobody was there. When I saw nobody was there, I just took off like a bat out of hell. I mean, because I'm like, holy crap, what was that? I couldn't explain it. I went down the stairs so fast, I don't think I touched the step. I just literally all flights of stairs down to the bottom floor, went running through the house, and I didn't tell anybody, because I didn't want to be in trouble for playing on the drums. And but it was super scary. Shortly after that, I started having nightmares, and as kids will have, but it was a reoccurring nightmare about the third floor where I was. And I've never had a dream like this ever in my life, where there was such intensity of feeling. And as a kid, I couldn't describe that, but it was so intense. I can't even describe it now. I mean, I've had dreams or I've had feelings, but this was like a crushing feeling. And it would come down from the third floor, whatever it was, grab me and try to drag me back upstairs. Then I would wake up. And I kept having that reoccurring dream as a kid. I didn't tell my parents, I would just beg to sleep in their bed because I was afraid, and they couldn't understand why. And they say, no, you got to sleep in your room. You got to sleep in your room. Okay. So I would fight with them over that. What's that? I was it Kenny Irish up on the third floor?
Yeah. No, I just saw him.
Oh, okay.
He said, "Oh, Ted, I just sent you an old school pic of Darin and myself before a show in Messenger."
Nice.
Yep. Okay.
I got lots of those.
Continue on.
So yeah, so I was having those reoccurring dreams, and it was really upsetting to me. I started to really hate my house. That went from that experience to additional experiences, and it got weirder and weirder. I'm not certain of the chronological order but it happened over a span of years. So it didn't happen like in concession day after day or week after week. It just I didn't seek it out, but when I was a little bit older, my parents are very old school and said, when you leave a room, you shut off the lights. You don't need to waste electricity and all that kind of thing. Right. And this is the days before touch lamps existed. Mm-hmm. And you had the big lamps with the big, the turn knob that clicked.
Nah.
Yep. And, and if you're a little kid, sometimes you had a hard time really getting a grip on it to turn it. So my parents used to have friends over a lot, and they would have some drinks and talk around the kitchen table. And I was in the living room while they did that. And I played my toys, and it was nighttime, and I had the lamp on in the living room. And I went into the kitchen. They said, you need to go shut the light off. Or yeah, that's right. Okay. So I go in, I click it off. I come back in the kitchen. I get yelled at. I told you to go in there to shut the light off. I did. My mother goes around the corner, looks. No, you didn't. It's on right now. Okay, you go in there and do it, because it's one of those things your parents, you're going to do it. I'm not doing it for you. Right. I go back and I do it again. Repeat it. I told you to shut the light off. So I'm like, all right, somebody's screwing with me. So my mind's thinking, my older brothers. Now, mind you, like I said, I'm the youngest. My oldest brother is 14 years older than me. The next youngest in the family is my sister. She's 8 years older than me. And I got another brother that was 12 years older. It turns out they were not in the house whatsoever. Everybody's in the kitchen. The only thing that was beyond that side of the living room was the parlor room, which is all wide open space. Then my parents' bedroom. So there's no entryway from the house to hide or anything.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, I'm going to outsmart them is I'm going to unplug it. Done deal. So I unplug it. I go back in. They said, I told you to shut the light. I'm really in trouble now. And I went back in because they saw it was on and it was off. When I went back in, I said, but it's unplugged. So they were seeing it on while the thing was unplugged because I just unplugged it and went back into the kitchen. So that freaked the hell out of me. You know, if I tell my parents that, they'll never believe me and think I'm just a kid playing games. So that was the second experience I had. Third experience I had in the house was finally sleeping in my own bed. And I used to put the stuffed animals around me because I was afraid. I had a million of them, and I'd create a fortress to somehow create like security, false sense of security. I don't know.
Right.
And just lay there, wide awake as could be, trying to fall asleep. And then my bed just starts shaking all different directions. It starts getting crazier and crazier. And it kept going. And I laid there terrified, didn't know what to make of it. And I finally it finally stopped. And in Vermont, earthquakes are incredibly rare. I mean, it can happen. I probably had it twice in my life. And I asked if there was ever an earthquake when I talked to my family members. I said, no, there's no earthquake that night. So that was the third experience in that house. I lived there till I was about 12 years old. It does get weirder. There's some validity to this now. So those are my personal experiences that I kept to myself as a little kid. I ended up being told later on after we moved out of there that I wasn't the only one having experiences in that house. Because I was the youngest, I was sheltered from the stories to not scare me because I was so much younger and the things that were actually happening. So it turns out that my mother, she had experiences in the house, and she had a situation where she was sitting on the couch and she felt that feeling come over her, and she turned around. There's a shadow of a man on the wall. Now, again, to describe the house, we had the second and third floor, and my grandmother lived on the first floor. So you had to go up a flight of stairs. When the cars went by, there was no reflection of lights. There was nothing like that. It's just the way we're angled, the height that we're at. Cars went by. You just didn't have that reflection. It was the living room was more center of the house and far away from much of anything. So she was seeing a shadow. Then I learned that my brothers were seeing shadow people going up to that third floor where their bedroom was that would dart across. My sister would hear.
Cemetery near there?
Well, the town that I grew up in is only 1 square mile, and there's one that's not too far away. My sister would hear things in the walls. Apparently, my father, I never heard the direct stories, also had experiences. And my grandmother downstairs, and I do remember this, she would call up terrified that she heard people walking around inside her apartment downstairs. My father, who was a security guard, owned his own weapon. I don't know if he had a Colt 45 or what it was. And he thought somebody was in the house, and been multiple times he would load his gun and go downstairs thinking somebody broke in the house to find nobody. But she was adamant somebody's walking around inside the house. With all those experiences happening, and there's probably more they didn't tell me, they actually brought in a pastor, a really well-known pastor, and he ended up sensing that there was an evil spirit on the third floor. They didn't tell me any of these things.
Before you say anything else,
so
the brother was the 14-year-old that had the drum set, or that was 14 years older than you? He's the one that had the drum set?
Yeah.
So what Spirit is literally telling me is he got like a lot worse than anybody else. Do you know that to be true?
That he experienced more?
Yes.
I honestly don't know.
Feel like they're also making me feel like that he felt there were physical things that happened to him though too.
It could have. You know, I could ask him. You know, again, being the youngest, I wasn't told everything. My oldest brother was in the Air Force and traveled a lot. So he left when I was real young, and he actually left while we lived at that house and was stationed around the U.S., for a long period of time. But yeah, he was in that house way longer than I was, and his bedroom was on that third floor.
So they're also telling me that he's experienced other things though too,
Yeah,
paranormally, like that
yeah,
he because of that house it opened him in a different way.
it very well could have. Yeah, every
That
one of
wouldn't
us in the
surprise
house had
me.
that experience. So
That's crazy
they brought the
and
pastor in, and he
cool.
sensed that there was an evil spirit on the third floor, so he did a blessing on the house.
Mm-hmm.
We eventually did move, and my mother will say to this day, I'll never go back there. She hated that house. It was an evil place. There
Really
was something about that house.
interesting.
And we moved to a brand new build about a block and a half away. And I will say, my friends, I got a friend named Jeremy that was my next door neighbor. Was horrified of that house. It was just
Really?
it was just there was just such a feeling. Anybody that went in there was this feeling, this weird feeling. So other people would sense it. Now to bring further uh, validity to my stories is the folks that moved in after that. We actually knew them through associations. We talked about it, and they said they actually also continue to have experiences in that house. The people that moved in afterwards,
Even after it was blessed.
and they shared some of their stories, some of the things with the third floor. Some weird things happening with the wallpaper, which I don't know anything about. Like it would come off, but then it would go
Yeah.
back and restick. Really bizarre things, doors opening and shutting. Some more manifestations that way.
Well,
So that was their personal account.
Wow.
I do have a
Yeah.
question. I mean, did you guys ever find out, like, or did you know how old the house was or the property at all? Did you guys figure out any of that stuff out?
Yeah, yeah, it was built in 1900, exactly the year 1900. It was one of
Wow.
the oldest houses in that town, and again, it had a lot of hidden rooms. So I tried to find it. I did some research and tried to find if it was a documented place of the Underground Railroad. So
Mm-hmm.
through word of mouth over the years, we were told that's why the hidden rooms are there behind the paneling.
Yeah.
That's where they used to
It'd
hide
be
folks back there.
it'd be interesting to find out if whoever is in that house right now is still having, you know, issues like
Yeah.
that.
Way.
It's my long-term goal. It's been inside me privately for many years, and I want to visit that place again. And I want to, being the young kid that used to be there and left when I was 12 years old, I want to encounter, I want to face whatever, if it's still there, I want to face it. And I want to
Right,
sit in that house and find out what is going on. It,
right.
it
Darren,
truly
I
is
want to go
inside me.
with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to go with you.
It's,
That's crazy.
that's just the beginning of my
Yeah.
experiences. Now, there are people, this is the thoughts I was having before going on the show. There's people
Well, let
that's,
me ask you something before
yeah,
you go, though.
yeah,
Are you a believer?
it made me a
Then
believer. And
it
with the
made
rest
you
of
a
my
believer.
stories, yeah, I definitely believe in, I have my personal convictions and beliefs with the afterlife. And I do believe, um, you know, that once your body expires, that your spirit moves on. I don't think that just the flesh alone is all there is to us. There is
Right,
you can call it a spirit, you can call it, whatever you want to call it, your energy,
right.
that it continues on. Absolutely.
Well, I just wanted to know where, like, I understand you had experiences, but I wanted to find out, like, right now, if you were a believer or skeptical or whatever.
Hey,
That's all. I was
Jerry.
just trying to get a sense of that. So,
No, I'm
um,
not a skeptic. I do become a skeptic because I've experienced so much that when somebody tells me something and it becomes too commercialized, then I become a skeptic of
right,
whether, because it just
Mm-hmm.
seems like, I don't know, because all my experiences I didn't seek to happen, and
right.
it's
It
just
just
it's kind
happened.
of weird. So
Yeah, it
I'm a
just
definitely believer
happens.
that it's there.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
today's world where it's become such a big thing that
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
there's been a lot of fabrication as well. So you have to
Yeah.
have discernment. Is this legit, or are you just putting it out there because you want to become famous or known, or you just want to be part of the crowd? You know,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I mean,
because
No, I get
you
where you're
can.
coming from.
this stuff was happening to me way before these shows existed.
Right,
Yeah,
I
right.
never heard
and
of anything like this.
the thing is I feel that you really can tell the honesty, especially of a child that it's happening to, because you can't fake fear, especially when you're in the midst of it. I remember Jansen, my oldest son. He literally, we were out at family. He was 14, so this is 14, 15 maybe. I mean, he's 17 now, so but no, he had to have been 14 because it was like one of the first times I left him alone, and I was so mad because he fought me so hard. I'm like, fine, you stay here by yourself, right? You can't fake fear. Well, my son calls me, and it's like 11 o'clock, and I'm like an hour away with the rest of the family. And he's like, what time are you coming home? I said, we're leaving here shortly. It's fine, Jansen. We'll be there shortly. Is everything okay? Yeah. I said, okay. Well, it's about an hour later, and he calls, and we're still there. And he's like, Mom, are you coming home? I said, yeah, why? What is going on, dude? Why are you doing this? He's like, listen, I'm not going back into the house. I'm staying outside until you get here. And he had that fear inside of him that I'd never heard before. He literally would not tell me what happened. I didn't find out for 2 years what had actually happened to him. And he literally waited outside with just a pair of shorts on, and it was Thanksgiving-ish time. So it's cold up here in New York. He did not have shoes on. He did not have a shirt on. He had a pair of shorts on. And he was standing out in the middle of the yard when I got here.
Yeah.
And he was terrified. And
Yeah.
it took 2 years before I actually found out what had happened. And how he explained it was all of a sudden he just kept hearing some little things. And he ignored it. But then all of a sudden something happened and he got scared and came down into the living room in front of this door, and he was about to take off and go outside. Well, what had happened is all of a sudden he was literally accosted at that door, where it just felt like somebody went boom and hit him in the chest, and he flew out the door. And then he came back in, called me, and he's like terrified.
Yep.
Okay,
and you can't fake that kind of stuff. You can't fake it for a kid.
Okay, so we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back and bake. I'm gonna go bake a cake. Anyways, but we're gonna take a short break, only a minute or two, and then everybody else is popping in here now in the chat room. Welcome aboard. And then we'll come back and we'll talk some more, and then halfway through that we'll get some questions put together. I know there's at least one in there already.
Yeah,
for
I
Darin.
saw that.
So
Barry has one.
Let's do that, and then we will be right back. And so we'll get your questions together and all that other good stuff. All right, guys, we'll be right back.
WLFE DB Radio.
Right.
Yay!
So we've been sitting here talking with Darin Savard, and he's been filling us in about his experiences with the paranormal. And while he was doing that and the commercials were going, Mr. Kenny Irish had sent me a picture of the two of them back in the day before. Well, it's probably been a while ago. And so I'm getting that loaded up here so that we can show that in a moment. But yeah, so guys, there is one question here, and I want to hit it before we forget it because sometimes they get passed up. But Barry Martz actually is asking, what was the house made of? Was it like a brick home, a stone home, a wooden home, all of the above?
It was all brick. It was a huge brick house. Yeah.
That's totally what I picked up. I was going to answer it.
Yeah, it was a massive brick house. Like I said, 3 floors.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was there
also very old.
a basement and an attic as well?
There was a storage space up there. Yeah, there was a crawl space, I believe. The basement was super scary. To get to the basement, you actually had to go outside to the wraparound porch, open up the hatchway, and go down a flight of stairs. And it just had dirt floors with the rocks around that made the walls up.
That's scary.
Million spiders.
While I got the opportunity, I'm going to do it for you right now. Here's a picture.
Yeah. I remember that one.
Wait. Okay, so this
Me licking Kenny's ear while he picked his nose. That's a classic.
You were the one about to lick his ear.
Yes. That's what you do in the bands. It creates unity.
Yeah. We just
got it.
We just hit each other. That's all we did.
No, we did that too.
Each other.
Oh my gosh! So no, that's cool. That's very cool.
I think that was the night I chopped his guitar in half. I'm not sure.
Oh,
it was at that place for sure. Yeah, it was just high energy. Like I said, we hit the first song, his brand new baby guitar, and I did one of these windmill things, and came down and snapped the thing right in half, the neck.
Oh wow!
We speculate there's a defect, but I just think I just got that much karate chop power. I don't know. I like to think that I do. Yeah.
There you go. That sounded a little bit like Miss Piggy there for a second, Cindy.
Wait, I sounded like Miss Piggy?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. Yeah.
Oh man, I wish I could do it again.
That's okay. So
I'll have to think about it.
Terry Donna says I took that picture.
I took that picture.
Well, I'm sure amongst millions of others.
Okay, the credit goes to Terry Donna.
Terry Donna for the win.
There you go. So as you were going, so this stuff just escalated for you. You know, in that
it did. Actually, looking at my notes on commercial break, I forgot a very important encounter in that house is a Saturday morning. So things don't always happen at nighttime, and I'm sure anybody that's had encounters realize that.
Exactly true. It's a big fallacy that it only happens during the nighttime. It happens all the time. Right. You just don't notice it during the day.
Just don't pay
These dramatic experiences are burned into my memory. So this particular one was at the same age time where it was a beautiful Saturday morning. And I'm all excited for breakfast and cartoons, and my mother was still in bed. Everybody was gone from my house that day, except for my mother. And I came out into the living room, and I had an audible voice speak to me from somewhere up here. And it wasn't subtle. It was loud. And it said out of nowheres, that it pretty much was going to get me. And it was very bizarre because there's nothing up here. It's just, the ceiling. And I ran. I bolted because I was so unexpecting. Because I'm just happy as can be. It's beautiful out, and I hear this voice, so it spooked me. And I ran to my mother. I said, "Hey," I said, "Is anybody in the house? Is my brother's upstairs?" And because it was a male voice, and I didn't recognize the voice. And she said, "No, nobody's in the house." I said, "Are you sure?" She said, "No, nobody is in the house. Leave me alone so I could sleep a while longer." And I said, "Because I heard a voice. You're crazy. You're hearing things." And that was the one time I did speak up and said, "Somebody just said something to me." Very loud as I'm talking right now. Then that was it. That was the end of it. It didn't continue through the day, but that memory will be with me till the day I die. It's just
that's crazy.
It's just really bizarre.
What's crazier is that your mom had these experiences, but she was telling you no, that
They sheltered me. They sheltered me. See, I didn't tell them about my experiences until I became a teenager and we moved out of there. And I was actually told, my mother told me, don't tell me this. I said, well, why? And that's when I heard the stories. It was years and years later that I heard their stories that, well, because this was actually going on in the house. And it scared the living hell out of her that she didn't know that her baby was experiencing these things. So I kept it a secret from them, and they kept it a secret from me. They felt as long as I was sheltered and didn't know about it, maybe I would be untouched.
So did your older siblings tell your parents that this was going on, or no, they didn't?
I don't know. I don't know.
That's crazy.
I never asked. We've talked about it all together in the past, but it's a question I never asked. You know, I'll ask them now for sure, but yeah, years later we talk about it and they're like, oh, that house. You know, but again, I wasn't told things. They just happened to me, you know, so those seeds were planted in my head.
Yeah.
Now, when we moved out when I was 12, we moved to the new house. Nothing happened. It was gone. And I felt great. I could sleep in my bed. It was great. So 12 years old, nothing happened for years. A little bit of sad story where it started to pick back up is I had a brother that passed away of a tumor. The second oldest brother, he passed away of a tumor. And when he passed away, both my father and I had a simultaneous experience, and we went to a church, and which we never do at the time. And my father, you know, just didn't go, but we just did, which was bizarre. Me and my father doing something like that. And so we were there. Then we left. It was a church service, and we're sitting in the car. My father turns to me and he goes, "Did you feel that?" I said, "Yeah." I said, it felt like my brother, I'm not going to say the name, you know, but my brother was behind me with his hand on my shoulder. He said, yes. He said, I felt the same thing. And I said, which shoulder? He said, this shoulder. I said, well, it was my shoulder on this side being touched simultaneously. Simultaneous experience that he was there with us, like saying, I'm okay. So that was that experience. Again, okay, now I'm back in the new house in the same town, not far from the other house. My father died a year after that of cancer as well. And my mother started seeing another person after time had passed, and she ended up getting remarried. And they went to Utah to help my brother move back. He was in the military. And I was in the house completely by myself. You know, my sister was in Virginia, I believe, at the time. So there was nobody. And my mother said, make sure all the windows are closed in the house if there's a storm coming through. You know, we didn't have air conditioners in the house. So it was hot. You open the windows. Because I was missing my father, I was grieving. I suffered. I lost my brother, you know, when I was a teenager, and I lost my dad a year after that. And it really affected my schooling. So I was sleeping in his bed because I was grieving still. And I just slept in there, slept on his pillow. Got up the next day. I had a large bedroom, so I had 3 windows, and I had them all open. And I said, "That's right." My mother said, "Shut the windows." So I shut them all, latched them, and one of these windows that don't move that easily. Left for the day, came back. All 3 windows were open, and so I told my mother about it later on, and I said, "The strangest thing is I latched these windows, and they're all open again." Also, during the next night when I was laying in that bed, there was a massive bang on the closet. They had those doors that slide, but it sounded like literally the shelves fell off. It hit so hard. And I'm like, oh boy, reminds me a lot of the old house. So I laid there and I didn't say a word. I just stayed wide awake, just laying there. Okay, the game plan is I'm going to try to fall asleep, and the next morning I'll check the closet because it sounded like everything fell. I checked the closets, not a thing moved. So there's no explanation as to why that door literally sounded like somebody, either the shelf came down or somebody kicked it as hard as they could. So my brother moves back. He ends up sleeping in that room in the recliner that was in there because he had a bad back. It was the only place he could sleep. I find out later on he was having experiences in that bedroom. And it turned out that a psychic who did a reading on that place said that they could sense that my father had come back, was fiddle faddling around the house. My father liked to play pranks and jokes. So is one of these things that maybe jokes are being played, trying to get my attention. Now I started to think to myself, if you pass away and you could see the folks that would you try to make contact? I think I probably would. I do, like I said, I have my personal convictions and stuff, and I believe in certain things, and but I also believe that we don't know everything, because we haven't died yet.
Right.
So we don't know all the answers yet. So it's very real things that have happened. But I will say, to bring more validity to these stories about the afterlife, is the pastor that I told you about earlier that did the blessing on the house. He ended up passing away in that house, where my mother called an ambulance. He started having a seizure, and they rushed him to the hospital. He had flatlined. They had to bring him back, and he did come back. They brought him back to life after being out for so long. It was a substantial amount of minutes. And he told his story of what he saw, and he said he absolutely was not gone. He actually didn't realize he had a seizure. He was drinking a coffee. My mother always made him a coffee. He spilled it on himself, didn't feel it. All he remembers is getting up in the living room, saw everything as it was. It was very peaceful, and he found that to be strange. Like, something was just real peaceful, and he looked out the window, and he said he saw a deer. He said, "That's really bizarre. Why am I seeing a deer in the city?" Again, it's Vermont, so it's not big cities, but it's not a place you would typically see a deer. Then he said it suddenly he was just whisked away. Then he saw, the gates of heaven, and he was told it wasn't his time. It's not your time. And he begged. He said that he felt like he was home. Like, I'm finally home. I'm home. I'm home. I don't want to leave. And which was bizarre to him, because it's like, I just left my body. And he's like, I don't want to leave. And he says, it's not your time. You must go back. So when he came back, he remembered being above his body in the hospital, and he saw everybody standing around the bed, and he was flatlined. He was on life support. So he suddenly sat up, started ripping all the wires off him. He says, "I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine." And he started to tell his family the story, which they thought he was a little bit nuts. You must be hallucinating. Maybe it's the drugs they gave you. He said, "Oh, you think I'm nuts, right?" He says, "You were standing here. You were standing here. You were standing here. You were doing this. Tell me, with me laying in this bed with my eyes shut, how I could tell you that."
Yeah.
So that's a story that is, he was very close to the family. So that's one thing. My father also, before he died in that house. My father did not believe in going to the doctor, but this particular night before we moved, I must have been 9 or 10 years old, came out, and it was just my mother and I in the house. And he came out and says, "You better bring me to the hospital." He says, "Something isn't right." I said, "Okay." I started hurrying to get my sneakers on, and we raced to the hospital, which was maybe 2-3 miles away. I remember him collapsing. We're trying to carry him in. They came out with a wheelchair. They put him in the wheelchair. They brought him in. They kept me out of the ER. It turned out he flatlined. He was having a massive heart attack. He was out for X amount of minutes. They revived him with the paddles. They had to race him in for emergency surgery for 2 blocked arteries. Then he told me, after all that had happened, he says, "I wasn't gone." He didn't know that had transpired. He didn't go as far as the pastor, but he said what happened to me is I didn't realize I was dead, first of all, and he says it was dark, and it was the classic tunnel. So he was like in a transition mode where he was there, he was aware of his being. He didn't see nothing else, but then he saw the tunnel. But then he was revived, and then suddenly he was back in bed. My father don't make nonsense up. If you know my father, he just don't do that. He was a jokester and stuff, but he wouldn't joke about him, when he actually flatlined. So those 2 stories. Now, going back to the house I'm living in now, the new house, I visited my father's. Actually, let me back up. That's actually this house. So it happened in 3 different houses. The second house, my mother remarries, and my stepdad, fantastic guy, who has since passed away, was telling my mother, he would shout and say, "Did you see that man?" He was seeing a man walking in the hallway right outside the bedroom. They used to have the bedroom open, and he would see a shadow of a man like peek into the bedrooms and leave, and then just disappear. And certain things would happen, and he to my knowledge, experienced stuff like that. So it was, my mother would say, don't do that. You're scaring me. Don't say stuff like that to me, because she had the experiences back in the old house.
Right.
My mother, later on, I find news that she broke her back. She fell down the stairs. But she said the thing about her falling down the stairs and breaking her back, she said she didn't just trip and fall. She said she felt like she was pushed. So she said, I was at the top of the stairs and I felt like I was shoved. That's the only thing I can describe to you, is I was shoved. I went down the stairs and I fractured my back. She fully recovered from that. So that was another experience in that particular house.
That's the
I had
old house, the brick house?
That wasn't the brick house. That was the second house. So that's
The
when things
second
started
house.
happening again, since we lived out of there. So a lot of years had passed where nothing happened, and it kind of becomes out of sight, out of mind. Then I ended up buying my house that I live in now, where nothing happened. It was a brand new build. I did a foolish thing, which I didn't see it as a foolish thing at the time, but it was an idea that I had, where I visited my father's gravesite, and I decided, I had this random thought as I was kind of trying to talk to him in my head, to take a piece of his plot, the grass. I got 10 acres here. I took a piece of his plot in the grass and I planted it by my door. And I said inside my head, I said, Dad, I know you're in heaven now, but I said, if you have the ability and you want to visit, by all welcomes, you're welcome to my house. So I kind of did that. And shortly, I never had experiences in this house, but shortly after that, I ended up having actually 4 experiences in this house. But I don't think it was my dad. That's where I started becoming a believer that you can invite in spirits. So in this particular, the first thing that happened in this house, and that goes back to your story with the lights. It's the only time I've ever seen a light. So I'm laying in my bed, and at my house, I live in a very rural town. There's no street lights. My bedroom is backside of the house. Backside of that house is 10 acres. On the other side of my 10 acres is a golf course. There's no lights. It's pitch black here.
Sounds
at
like my
night.
house.
Right. So
I got a golf course right there, right next to me.
Yeah.
That's crazy, Teddy.
So I'm laying there, and I'm
What's
as
behind
wide
me?
awake as can be, because I didn't just fall asleep yet, and I'm just laying there. Sometimes I shut my eyes and I look and I go, what the heck? And there was a massive blue light.
Wow.
I would say about the size of a football. It wasn't tiny, about the size of a football. And it started at one point of the room, and it had a weird shape to it. It wasn't smooth. It almost like, well, if I was to describe like the design of it, it was almost like a brain. It's bizarre. And it had like a bluish tint to it with an outer light to it. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I'm nuts right now, or something's going on in my eyes. So I rubbed my eyes, but I consciously said to myself, I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to react, because I want to see what this is. And I just sat there staring at it, and it went up towards the ceiling. It came straight over my head and stayed there. And I sat there staring above it, about 3 to 4 feet above my head. Then it went over my head and disappeared into the wall. And that was the end of it.
That's crazy.
So I said, what in the world is that? I had 2 instances where I heard somebody walking in my house. Went to look with my billy club, because I thought somebody broke in. There was nobody there. This is all during the same period of time. And again, shortly after I took the plot from the plot of land from the gravesite.
Right.
Then I came out one night to sleep on my couch, which is right behind me here. Actually, I moved furniture around, but I was sleeping right where these windows are. And you can see there's a wall behind me, so my head was towards this wall. And I fell asleep. And I got woken up with another audible voice, but it was of a little girl. Now, at the time, my little girls are way older. So I'd say the sound of this voice was about 3, 4 years old, very loud, very audible, spoke directly into my ear and said, hi. And I jumped because it woke me up, and then it was gone. So I was never a seeker of these things, but for some reason, I believe there's people that seek after it and try to find evidence. And then there's the side where I would suggest possibly maybe the paranormal seeks out the individual for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I've asked myself, why have I had so many encounters? When I was born, I was put in an incubator because I almost died. I had an umbilical cord wrapped around my neck, and it choked the life out of me. So I asked myself, because I had a near-death experience soon as I was born, is that why I'm having these experiences? I don't know. So that's not all of my stories, by the way. So I'm just
And the
trying to
thing
get
is,
through 'em.
we don't know why people are having certain experiences, and I don't know if we'll ever know. You know, we do hear that people that have near-death experiences have more ghostly experiences than anybody else does.
Death has seemed to have surrounded my family because my grandmother that died, I would say I was about 4 years old, and my parents found it strange that I would go to the open casket and actually touch her body and not be afraid at the age of 4 or 5 years old. You know, so
That's
there's
my nephew. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to that or what, but one important story that I will say is I do believe there's a couple different kind of paranormals. You have the spirit of the individual, then there's the demonic side, which I've experienced also. I do believe that there's demonic spirits, evil that intends to get after us, and the reason I say that is I have a friend that got into Ouija boards, and those can be a gateway. There's obviously a lot of skeptics about that because it's literally a piece of plastic and cardboard that you can buy at the toy store. So he was using it, and it did not work right away for him. And it teaches you to meditate on the board, and it started to work. So he invited me over to experience it. So I did, and we were teenagers, and I put my hand on the board on the thing, and it suddenly became very angry. Spirit of the board that was supposed to be the spirit of the board suddenly was not saying that it was George anymore. It started to get very angry towards me. You know, I was going to church at the time, but it
Hi, Mark.
became very angry
Sorry.
towards me. No, that's fine.
It's my
And the thing would
nephew.
actually turn towards me and start like it was hitting me. Our hands would start moving violently to where our hands would come off and it would still move. We had another
That's
friend
crazy.
I had another friend in a different town that was using it. They bought it at the same time and was using a Ouija board. And it started to say that it was Satan. It was very angry. It said it wanted to kill me. It hated me. Just then the phone rings, and this is before the days of cell phones were big. They existed, but people didn't own cell phones. That's when they were like the brick.
Yes.
He calls up while that was happening. He lived maybe 10, 15 miles away. Wanted to talk to us. So my friend's
Wait,
mother
who
calls
was that? Who
upstairs.
had called you? Who
The
was it that
friend,
called you?
our friend who was
Oh,
using a Ouija board, happened to be using it that night. We didn't know that. He called up and said, "Hey, I want to talk to Darin and my friend." He says, "Hey," he says, "Why is my board saying it hates Darin?" So two boards simultaneously started saying it was hating me. He didn't know anything that we were doing, and his board started saying it was Satan, and it scared the crap out of both of them where they threw it away. Well, my friend that I was with actually threw it away. The other friend didn't throw it away. He said he did. He said he actually threw it under his bed and didn't touch it forever. It scared him so much that he ran to church with his grandma. One day, weeks later, he decided to try using it again, and the board took off immediately, and it was very angry. And it actually explained to him. He said, "You think this is a game?" He said, "It's a gateway. The more you use it, the more prevalent I become in the house." And he started seeing shadows in the house of whatever spirit that used it as a gateway into his house. Then he threw it away because when he saw that figure in his house, the spirit standing in his doorway, or the shadow, he said, "I'm done. I'm done with it." Now, I did an experiment. This is probably the only experiment I ever did with the paranormal, talking with my friend, because it's a very real thing to us. I said, "What do you suppose it is about the board that this actually works?" We didn't have an answer. I said, "Let's make one. Let's just see if you have to buy one of those in the store, if you can make one." I said, "Let's take a Domino's pizza box, take the cardboard side. We drew the everything out the way it's supposed to be, create
yep.
another piece of cardboard, made a triangle,
For the
cut
planchette.
straws, made the legs, put a little felt in the bottom of the straws, cut a little hole in there, put it down, and we're like, all right, let's try this." We put our hands on it, and it took right off. It scared the crap out of us. My friend took it and threw it. Then the triangle piece, whatever you call it, the
Planchette.
communication device, still moves somewhat on the floor, about 6, 7 inches. And then we're like, that's it. We never touched it since. We just couldn't explain it. And if you tell that to anybody, which I don't go around telling people, but if people ask me my story, I tell them because it's like, dude, that is crazy. I mean,
So I never touched a Ouija board because of what my cousins told me happened to them, which they tried getting rid of, and it was a group of them. They tried getting rid of their Ouija board. The Ouija board kept showing back up. The planchette would show back up. They tried throwing it in the garbage. It'd show back up. They put it in the stream. It'd show back up. They finally chopped it up and burned it.
Yeah,
and it didn't show back up again.
There's evil exists out there, and even for skeptics, it's like that's fine. And I'm not here to convince anybody. My experiences are my experiences. My role in life isn't to try to convince you of something. If it happens to you, it happens to you. You know, and I think sometimes things happen to people and they dismiss it or try to reason it. And you know, just kind of.
I have Terry Donna. She said, I remember seeing an orb at your house, Darin Savard. It came down the stairs and disappeared into the door to the garage. I rolled over and went to bed. LOL.
Okay.
She's like, nope, not paying any attention to this. I'm going to sleep.
Well, I can tell you this. I mean, there are some things that we have come up with the answers for in the paranormal. There's a lot of things that we can point to. You know what I mean? To kind of give us a direction. And you know, there's many stories out there, and I'm not going to tell you that every story has the same meaning, because obviously not. As a paranormal investigator, 36 years, we always look at, you know, for myself, I always look at things that are the same in each case. You know what I mean? Trying to figure out what the golden key is, what makes this stuff happen, or why. And I know with some of the people and researchers that I know that have been doing it for a long time as well, a lot of them use techniques that, you know, are kind of basic. And then you have a lot of psychic mediums that get involved. And then you have, you know, there are regular scientists as well that get involved, but only to a certain limitation. But there's always some piece that we don't understand, or, and I don't know if we'll ever find out what it is. You know, I mean, just like you and I had talked about prior to all the show, is that everybody's like going their own direction. Nobody's working together, you know, so it's going to be a lot harder for us forever to come up with answers on any of this stuff. As a Ouija board goes, I've done a lot of research on the Ouija board. I own 9 of them. I have 9 of them in my room next door. I've never had anything like that happen. Very rarely do I ever hear anything like that, which is cool when I do hear it, because it gives me like the excitement to go in to do some more research. You know what I mean? Because I'd like to know what else is going on.
Yeah.
I have been involved in a couple situations to where we've had to help people that have had Ouija board experiences. Orbs and stuff like that, as Lori put up there. There's absolutely no connection that we know of.
Terry did.
Or Terry did that.
I will say on that. I will say on that right there. I will say on that, just on the comment, because it's public, that I honestly don't remember it, but Terry was somebody who used to follow us in the band back in the day. So that would be the time frame that it would have happened. And if she did sleep here, which I don't remember, was there's no relational connection there. It's a band following thing. You know what I mean?
Right. No, that's cool. I get it.
I honestly don't remember.
Clearing it up, and that's cool. But yeah, you know, it's an unfortunate thing that we are not able to band together to find more answers for the paranormal. But all we can do...
She's like, I never said anything.
All we can do is take the stories that we have, and, you know, in every story there's an ounce of truth. So you take your truth from it, and that's all you can do. You know, you have survived some things and had some experiences that no one will ever understand to the level you do. We can, however, talk about certain situations that are similar. And, you know, hopefully one day we'll have answers, because I know that you would love to know why you know, and I know Cindy and I know plenty of people that have had things happen to them, and they want to know why me. And unfortunately,
I don't even say why me anymore. I mean, I've had experiences since I was a kid. Like,
right.
I don't say like why me. I'm just like, holy fuck, not again.
Right.
You just get used to it, but it'll still take you by surprise. But I don't think I ever was like, I was always more like, yay, what is this? This is cool. But there was the one scary voice like you had, Darin, that just is terrifying, right?
Yeah. And
So,
stuff
yeah,
like that, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I think you should write a book about all that stuff.
I was thinking the same thing since he already wrote some of these down.
I mean, he's telling his truth. I mean, this is his story, it's his truth. And, you know, if it touches one other person that goes through something similar to that, then that's awesome, you know. It's like why some of us write anyways, is we try to put our opinions out there and make sense of the stuff that we've experienced. And being a paranormal investigator is the same way with me. I mean, I've hundreds of cases, but at the same time, Cindy and I just done one a little over a year ago, and we both of our mouth drops, and we're like,
Holy shit
now
balls.
what?
Right.
Yeah, you know, now what? So, you know, you for us, you write it down, you keep hold of it, you hope that you come across something like that again, so that you can come up with some more answers. But just keep telling your stories, because that's gonna resonate with somebody. You know, it's gonna make sense.
I need to ask Darin questions though now.
Go for it.
Okay, so Darin, this is going to be personal questions. Are you okay with it?
Go ahead.
So I keep having the feeling of prison around you. Did you ever do, and you don't have to answer.
I'll answer.
If you don't want to. Had you ever been in jail or prison yourself?
I've never been convicted. No, I've been in many prisons with the outreach.
Because I can feel a prison on you, and I know this is going to sound super creepy and weird. So, do you know if anybody that you had worked with in the prisons, if anybody had passed? Because I feel a prison around you. I know that sounds super weird, but I can feel it around you. Before Teddy had even said it and mentioned it, I'm like, man, what is up with this dude? I had a friend that I found out later on that he spent 7.5 years in Leavenworth, Kansas for attempted murder.
And he was supposed to be in my wedding, and he left. He actually asked to live with me because he had a falling out with when he remarried, and he got served a restraining order at my house, which scared me because he showed up at my house, and that he left back home to where he was from, and I haven't had communication with him since. But I had heard at one point that he was in poor health, so maybe that's something there.
It's just crazy because it feels heavy and weird. It feels like prison. I've been in prison. Now I haven't been in prison, but I've visited a person that had been in prison. So and there's different feelings of prisons, and I'm sure you certainly understand this. When you go to a max to a minimum, there's a different energy feel.
Yeah.
Max prisons, or even like the what do they call them? Like the boys. Sorry. When you like the intake prison, which is still a pretty heavy duty prison, like you can feel the energy difference from that kind of heavy. And there's usually a lot of suicides. There's usually a lot of even deaths, murder kind of things that happen on those campuses. And you can certainly feel the difference energy-wise. It's like that heavy duty, like, energy that I feel.
Yeah, I think I could definitely tell you about atmospheres.
Is a big deal.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you about the atmospheres with prisons, because I've been from minimum security to super max. Super max, you're dealing with murderers and the most heinous of crimes. So we played in those places, and we played them. And actually, some of the worst ones for atmosphere outwardly is medium security. The reason, depression and sorrow is going to be heavy in the maximum security, so therefore they're lifers. But on the outward side, when you go in and do outreach for them, they're way more receiving. They're way more mellowed out because it becomes their way of life. We're not leaving. We are here. So they're much more receptive. Where you go to a medium security, they're there for 6 months to, a couple years, 2, 3 years. The attitude is huge. They wear it like a badge of honor. A lot of violence, fights every single day. I've been in prisons where the guards come running out, and they came back and told us we had to run out because a guy was into self-mutilation and swallowed 10 razor blades. And just fights, beating each other up nonstop, and just cop attitudes because they know they're getting out. And to a criminal, it's like a badge of honor. Yeah, I did time. And it's just it's definite difference. Yeah, I've even been in kids prisons, with my line of work, and that's very
tough.
sad.
It is.
Yeah.
I can hear you typing, Teddy.
Sorry, I'm trying to answer some of these people.
I wonder what Teddy is working on now, Barry says.
Yeah. I'm helping out the new show that starts after our show tonight. I actually had to help him out, so there was a couple things I had to get put together here because he starts in 20 minutes, so...
Barry's hysterical. He said maybe he's whipping up a batch of chocolate pudding for Cindy for next show.
Funny. Kenny says there was certainly a darker energy on the minimum security from what I remember.
Yeah, so Kenny was with me on some
medium.
of those.
The medium is the one that stands out the most in my mind because here in New York we have the well, I remember Auburn prison. My father was in that one, but and that was heavy energy. I can remember I was like 12 years old and I could remember.
Well, Attica prison, I can tell you from experience that that's where my family's from, and I have several family members that work in Attica prison, and we used to actually go there from time to time. Scared Straight went through there as well, and the energy just even going near that place is just intense.
Yeah,
it's really intense, and they've had a lot of deaths and murders and stuff. Attica prison. So I mean, but you can find that in a lot of places. It doesn't have to be a prison. I mean, there are places. What is this called? This is called the. In Rush, New York. It's probably about half hour from me. It's like a prison for boys. I can't think of what they call it. Oh, Industry.
Oh yes, Industry.
There was kids that died there. There was like 12 kids in there, put in unmarked graves. But when you actually find that place, the feeling is like, it's terrible. It's just it's really heavy.
There are two places that I've been visiting this other person. What is that place down south of us, Teddy?
Groveland?
Do you know? Not Groveland.
Saunier?
It's down between Ithaca, like it's near Ithaca area, but it's not Ithaca.
Oh, I think you told me about that too.
It's a big place. It's one of the places that when you are told you're going to prison, it's an intake prison and it's a medium security. And the first time I went there, it was like I fought myself to actually go into the building. It's, prisons are not very warm and welcoming, but this place had been there. It's been there for at least 100 years, I would say. So it's got the old brick. It's very old looking. But I literally just standing outside, it physically made me nauseous to be outside of it. And then as I went inside to start going through the process so I could go visit the person I was going to see, I literally had to, hold myself in there because I literally was inundated with spirit. And I wanted to vomit while I was in there because the energy was so
places
heavy.
like that. I mean, it's not any different than like a orphanage or anything like that. When you have people that are kind of put in a situation and they're like in their own, like in a prison, they're stuck in one area all the time. So their energy is always there, and it grows the longer you're there, or longer they're there. That energy just keeps building and building and building and building and building.
Yeah.
And that's what we know about energy. So, you know, I would assume that any type of prison or even look at the old hospitals for.
Oh,
What's that?
Elmira.
Elmira,
That's
okay.
the one I was thinking of.
But,
Elmira.
you know, the old hospitals and everything else, some of these places carry so much energy. And we know you can't destroy energy, so it goes somewhere and it's there. So people experience certain things at different times, and we don't know why. You know, or, you know, why it's happening or why it's there or why it attaches itself to one person or the other. And
Take care, Lori.
you know, it's the same with, you know, all of our experiences. I mean, there's so many beliefs in why it happens, I guess, but if you're a plain thinker, if you're looking to find answers, if you have that scientific knowledge or you're using the scientific theory, there's so many different people or ways that people are trying to find answers for all this stuff, and all we really have is our own truths. And that's what we can say or do, is we can tell our stories, we can, you know, share our truth and hope that somebody, you know, feels the same way we do or has something similar or can understand or, you know, anything at that point. I mean, the paranormal is such a big avenue, and it's still very, very young. It's still new, you know? So the experiences like
They've
what
been talking
Darin
about
has...
ghosts for hundreds of years.
Yeah, exactly. But the experiences that Darin had, I mean, some of those stories are amazing, you know? Just one of those could rock somebody else that doesn't believe, because I know people that are pure skeptic, and they have an experience, and all of a sudden, boom, they're on the other side of the coin, you know, and it's like they never thought it would happen to them. But here you are, you lived through a whole bunch of different experiences.
All of them, I was blindsided.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not looking for it. I'm not even thinking about it. It's just like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
You know, then it could be years before something else happened again, or maybe never. I don't know.
Yeah, I would definitely write a book if I was you.
Holy shit! So Elmira Prison, it's 156 years old.
Yeah.
It's been there since 1864.
I'll get Kenny to help me write. He's the author.
There you go.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
You don't have to be co-author.
I've been in Dannemora. I've been in what's the other one in New York? Been in Dannemora, up north.
Up north. Well, there's a medium
Malone.
up north.
Malone.
That's where I've been. I've been to Malone.
Isn't that the one? Was it Dannemora or Malone, the one where the guys broke out of and tried to escape to Canada? They were shot just before they crossed over.
I'm not sure, but Malone is literally like 30 minutes, 40 minutes from the border. So
and Attica had some
that's the one.
huge issues too. So I mean, Attica had They had a lot of issues in Attica.
A lot of people don't realize that medium security will often hold the hardest of convicts as a holding station before they get sent to a maximum. There's one time we showed up to play.
There's actually a max, and then you go a little further and there's a medium.
Yeah.
Or even maybe it's a low.
There's a medium one in Vermont that when we showed up to play, the guard says, "Hey, you remember that guy in the news, the kid that killed his parents with a chainsaw?" We're like, "Yeah."
Stop it.
Yeah. We're like, "Yeah." They go, "Well, he's in that cell, that padded room right there." They said, "Don't look in the window because he's certifiably insane. Because if you look in, he'll start freaking out." So he was in temporary holding in a padded room in a straitjacket before they brought him to a psych ward. Yeah. So I was literally within 10 feet of that dude. Obviously, he's on the other side of a cell door, and I'm like, I'm not looking in.
Wow.
No, thanks. I'm good. I'm right here. I'm good.
I've shook hands with some crazy people. I didn't know what they did, but being those maximum security, you don't know what they did with those hands.
That's
right.
Right.
One of the songs we wrote came from the prison. A song called "Free." And yeah, it was inspired by an inmate that was trying to get his life straight.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It makes you think. I mean, it certainly does make you think. I mean, I think that's why paranormal is so big, is because there's just so much to it that we don't know, and there's so many people that experience things at different times, and it drives you crazy. Trust me, I know. 36 years has driven me crazy a lot. But
my nephew said Dannemora. because Mark lives up in North Country.
Yeah.
So he lives up north, like closer to where we're talking about, rather than where I live, because he lives up north and I live down near Rochester area. And he's saying Dannemora is probably the one that you're talking about, but Barry Martz also said it would be the Clinton prison that 2 convicts that we know of escaped there. And Mark said that's where they escaped from. Anne Franklin County is the prison in Malone. Yeah, see? Hi, Amy. How are ya?
Well, you guys have any questions there in the comment room? We don't have much time left, so I wanted to make sure that if you have any questions for Darin, to get them in there.
Oh my gosh. So Barry was saying that it's not any, like he was talking about the Elmira prison, and there is a big prison in Elmira. I've been there. Terrifying. It like just the thought of it is literally physically making me sick. When I went to the Malone one, I went to it was like a medium Mac or medium to mild, basically. It felt a lot different than the Elmira prison, but it was terrifying at Elmira. And he said, and its first execution was by using the electric chair in Elmira. He said that
there's a lot of evil spirit and energy that ends up in those places. Some of the worst.
It really does.
Demonic
it's
energy.
Terrifying there. It is, and it's so heavy because the amount of depression that's in those areas, especially. I would agree with you so much, Darin, regarding the energy at a medium prison compared to even the medium mild, whatever. It's just got some really heavy duty criminals there in that. I think that it was actually more of a. I don't remember what they call it. It's not a medium.
Well, you remember the old saying, it's like if you're an asshole in life, you're an asshole in death. So pretty much, that energy is going to stay around, Yeah,
so Barry said that William Kemmler was the first one to sit in that chair and that was executed. That's terrifying.
I love our friends how they just look up shit all the time when we talk.
I love it. I think it's super fun that they do
They educate us as well as we educate them. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But.
Oh, a party. Okay, Amy. Sounds like
well,
fun.
you know what? I really appreciate you, Darin, coming and sharing all that stuff with us. I really do.
Darin, those were super great stories. Thanks so much for sharing them with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's nothing I really smoke on this kind of scale about, And, you're going to have some people listen to it and say, he's full of it. It's like, it don't really matter to me because it's still real to me, brother.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, with every story, there's an ounce of truth. And, it's whatever. I mean, everybody puts their own stuff out there.
Whoa,
and,
oh, my God.
It's always going to be when you listen to somebody's story, whether you believe it or not. And sometimes you can spin it around to where it fits a part of your life, or maybe you just automatically believe it because you've had something similar happen or whatever.
But I feel like you can feel, like, I feel like I can
the realness
feel
with
like,
his stories.
Right. I mean, and you can usually feel that energy coming from somebody when there's, like, embellishment or whatever. You can feel the truth of it. And I definitely could feel the truth of it with Darin. But that, it's not helpful to other people, right? Because they can't always feel. So, Darin, as you were talking, I could totally feel the house, the first house, the second house, and your house. So.
The first one was more on the dark, malevolent side and probably existed far before we're there. These other ones were pretty innocent and just, except for the one where my mother felt like she was pushed. I don't know what that's about. Is it paranormal?
Yeah, that's
I don't know, but it does go along some claims where people say they've been touched. I've had the light, I've had the audible, I've had things that defy science. I've been touched. So I've had a little bit of all the different experiences.
Right.
So, did
Kinda
you
weird.
see shadows, though? Did you see shadows?
Oh, yes. Actually, now that you said that, that was one of the things I forgot about the house that I'm in now. So the light, the walking, then I was startled by a shadow. It was actually the next night from the orb. It came into my room. The door was open, actually, and it was in the air and just kind of swooped into the closet. It scared the tar out of me because I went, hey, but I think I woke up everybody. Like, what, I wasn't supposed to see that. It was just the one time. Just the one time. I don't know what it was.
Well, Chanel's on here. She says, I've been listening the whole time. She goes, I love the topic and the guest tonight. I'm like, cool.
Yes,
Cool.
good.
We appreciate that,
If
Chanel.
Cindy was in prison, she could easily make someone her bitch. I think I would scare everybody because I'd be telling them about all of the shit going on, and they would be scared of me. Just like, guys, never mind. Another topic, another day.
Well, it's been an interesting night. It's been fun. We've talked with everything from
Darin,
music
it's been so much fun.
to his experiences in the paranormal, and just nice, relaxing conversation tonight. Talking, it was fun. It was off at the normal scale for us, which was very cool, and we appreciate that. Steve says it's amazing. We got to a lot of estate sales, and there are houses that definitely have spirits. Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Yeah, you can definitely feel them, Steve.
Yeah,
absolutely.
a lot of stuff. There's a house not too far
Oh
from
my God,
here that
Nick!
was...
I literally just said that phrase to my nephew earlier.
Snitches with
get
stitches?
Yeah, because he was... So my nephew would look at me because I wanted to watch my YouTube, but I kind of was tired as well. So my nephew, I noticed, he'd look over at me, and then he'd tell Jet, your mom is sleeping. And he doesn't realize that I knew he was doing it. He's over there grinning right now. And I'm like, listen to me. Snitches get stitches. Go ahead, tell Jet again.
What were you going to say, Darin?
30 seconds. There's one I got written down here that I forgot. I did also have a haunt that involved smell. And this was a broad daylight in front of a lot of other people. So this particular place I went to, it was a temporary holding place, not a holding place, but a workplace for state workers. So like I said, I'm in distribution. So I was making a delivery, did my usual routine in this place. And this place is a very large, very Addams family looking mansion. It actually is an old mansion and owned by somebody, but it was a temporary place for these state workers to work. And I walked in and I used to be in culinary and I said, it was a very strong odor of food and it was hoisin sauce. And I'm like, I recognize that. They must be having like a buffet or something or, for lunch. Made the delivery. I come back out. I said, hey, what do you guys got going on here? They said, we got nothing. I said, what do you mean you got nothing? The odor was gone at this point. I said, you guys don't have food here or some sort of spread going on? They said, no. They said, why? I said, because there was a very strong odor of food in this house, in this mansion, and distinctly of hoisin sauce. They said, no. They said, actually, it's funny you should say that. They said, come here. And they showed me a book they had on the mantle. They said, this mansion, which is super old, they said, is actually one of the most documented haunted places in the state of Vermont. It's actually in a book. And they said one of the claims is actually smelling odors of food. I said, you got to be kidding me, right? And they said the cleaners, the caretakers, the maids that used to work in that place would refuse to go up to that top floor, which you used to have to bring deliveries up there too, because of things that would happen. So I look it up, and sure as heck, that house is in there. And it's one of the most documented places. I did not know that the many times I went in. And I had an exact claim that they had of smelling food. I'm like, no way, dude. I'm like, seriously?
I have goosebumps. That means the truth has been spoken, my friend. So Amy says, Darin, is your music out somewhere on YouTube or somewhere like that?
Yeah, not all of it. You can find some clips on Reverb Nation, I believe. Yeah, there's some on there, some of the heavier metal stuff when I played with Kenny and some other guys. Then the one band that I was in with him, where I showed you the album insert, I don't think that's on there right now, but we could put it up so people can listen to it. There's a lot of music to listen to. We wrote a lot of songs.
Yeah, because it would be great. We could put it up there and let people know.
Yeah. We have...
Barry says, this has been a great show with Darin. He provided some interesting information of his growing up. Do you like? Nick said, agreed, but I think I'll never look at pudding the same way again after this episode. You're welcome.
That's where all hauntings begin.
There you go.
That's right, through the pudding.
Well, I have to get out of here. I'm supposed to be with this other show. It's already after 10 o'clock.
Yes.
I got to give them a hand
Yes,
as well.
Steve.
So, guys, thank you
baby.
so much for joining us here on Paratalk Radio with me and Cindy. And thank Darin for being
Thank
here.
you,
We really
Darin.
appreciate it. I know Cindy's probably got her Taco Tuesday coming up. And
Yep,
she's got
tomorrow
a show on
Tuesday,
Thursday.
7 p.m. Tomorrow, Tuesday night. Just Cindy on Thursday night at 8 p.m.
Okay.
Saturday, I do have, we're doing with Dr. Mystical. I am doing, I believe it's 9 p.m. on Saturday Eastern Standard Time. We're doing Naughty Tarot and Sex Magic Part 2 on my channel.
Wow.
Part 1 was on Doc's a couple months ago.
Cray.
Part
You're
2
so
is on my channel.
All right.
That's
well,
right, baby. Hi, Jason.
All right. Well, Darin, thanks again. We appreciate it. You guys talk with Teddy tomorrow night. It's going to be at 10 o'clock, of course. It's going to be Mr. Kenny Biddle with me. We're going to be talking about his new museum, and
good.
so it'll be fun
Mariah?
tomorrow night. So, all right, guys,
Kid
take care of
Zion
yourself.
featuring Kid Lyrical.
Thanks again, Darin. We really appreciate all your stories
Thank you.
and being here with us. It was awesome. All
Anytime,
right,
guys.
Thank you.
Okay,
Take
Teddy,
care.
say it. Say it, Teddy.
Wherever
Take
there
care,
is
dear.
darkness, there is always
Delight.
Thank you for listening to Paratalk Radio with Ted Wolf and Psychic Cindy. Catch us next Monday for another fantastic guest. Please check out our show as well as others on the WLFE DB Radio Network. And remember, like, follow, and share with everyone.
Join us at WLFE-DB.com for upcoming shows and so much more.